They praise you for being so understanding. They lift you up when life feels heavy for them, and the moment they regain their strength, they vanish without an explanation, without an apology, leaving behind nothing but their absence, almost as if your worth evaporates the instant they stop needing you. But that isn't love, it isn't friendship, and it definitely isn't a genuine connection. It is consumption, a one-sided extraction of your emotional energy. And in this video, we're going to dive deep into the nature of psychic energy through the lens of Carl Jung, to understand why this happens and how to reclaim your inner strength before it breaks you. Why do certain people become addicted to your presence? How do emotional vampires disguise themselves as lovers, as friends, even as soulmates? And most importantly, how can you reclaim your energy before their emptiness turns into your exhaustion? Because the truth is uncomfortable, but real. People don't always love who you are. They love what you heal in them. And if you never learn to protect your own energy, you can spend your entire life repairing others while quietly disappearing inside yourself. Some people never ask how you're doing until they need something. They call you when their world collapses. They unload, they cry, they pour their chaos onto you. And once the weight is lifted, they leave. There is no gratitude, no reciprocation, only silence. Silence that lasts until the next crisis finds them. Carl Jung never used the modern term energy vampire, but he understood this dynamic better than anyone. He called it psychic projection, the act of throwing your internal chaos onto another person, expecting unconsciously that they will hold it for you. In Jung's psychology, every human being carries a shadow, a dark side containing denied emotions, deep fears, hidden wounds, and unmet needs. And instead of confronting this inner darkness, many people push it outward. They project it onto others as a way of avoiding their own reflections. And who do they gravitate toward? The empaths, the attentive ones, the listeners, the ones who feel everything, the ones with open hearts and gentle presence. They come to you because you feel safe, but they don't treat you like a person. They treat you like a sponge, a container for their unresolved emotional storms. And over time, the signs become subtle, yet devastating. You feel drained after talking to them. You feel guilty for wanting space. You feel responsible for their pain, even when you had nothing to do with it. But that isn't friendship. It is emotional depletion disguised as connection. And the most painful part is that it doesn't begin this way. In the beginning, they admire you. They tell you how wise you are, how comforting you feel, how easy you are to talk to. They open up quickly, sometimes too quickly, sharing deep wounds in the very first conversations. It makes you feel important, needed, chosen. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dynamic shifts. They stop asking about your feelings. They minimize your emotions. They make you feel selfish for needing rest. They make you doubt yourself for wanting boundaries. And the worst part, they make you feel guilty for protecting your own energy. According to Jung, this is a classic manifestation of shadow projection. They aren't truly connecting with you. They are connecting with the relief you provide. You calm their storm, even though they remain shattered inside. They feel understood, balanced, accompanied, but only temporarily. Because they're not healing. They're simply expelling. They refuse to build their own inner light, so they take yours. And when you stop giving, when you finally run out of emotional oxygen, they say you've changed. They accuse you of becoming distant, cold, selfish. Then they go searching for another person to drain, and the cycle begins again. It isn't always malicious. Often it's unconscious, woven into their psyche. But unconscious harm is still harm, and it leaves people like you empty, confused, and questioning your worth. Jung believed that real connection can only happen between two people who have faced their own shadows, who have done the inner work, who recognize their own darkness instead of projecting it. But emotional vampires avoid this path. They look for people who radiate light so they don't have to look within. So if you've ever been told you're too intense, too emotional, or too deep, understand this. You are not too much. You are simply resonating at a level they haven't reached, and instead of rising with you, they choose to detach. But awareness changes everything. Once you recognize this pattern, you can break it. You can stop confusing emotional labor with love. You can stop trying to heal those who refuse to face themselves. You can say no without drowning in guilt. You can protect your energy without apologizing for it. Because your light is not free. Your warmth is not a resource for others to drain. You are not meant to burn from the inside just to keep someone else warm. And eventually, you find yourself asking, why do I keep attracting the same type of people? The ones who take more than they give. The ones who unravel you, use you, abandon you, and then reappear as if nothing happened, only when they need something. Maybe you've wondered this over and over. Why do I end up in these connections? Why does the same emotional story repeat? The answer is painful but liberating. You are empathetic, emotionally intelligent. You listen more than you speak. You understand even when it hurts. And because you have a healing presence, you attract users, takers, and emotional parasites who sense your depth but don't respect it. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate." But this is not fate. It is a pattern that has quietly repeated itself for years in the unconscious corners of your relationships. And the moment you see it clearly is the moment you can finally break it. Let's go back for a moment. When you were a child, your worth was never rooted in who you were. It was tied to what you could do, to how well you adapted, to how quickly you learned to read the emotional temperature around you. Maybe you grew up with a parent who was emotionally distant, someone whose love felt like a locked room you kept trying to enter. And so, you became a human radar for the emotions of others. You learned to sense tension before it exploded, to soften your voice so no one felt threatened, to shrink yourself so conflict would never land on your shoulders. You became the fixer, the peacemaker, the emotional sponge who absorbed what no one else could carry. You gave love, hoping it would finally come back to you. You listened carefully, hoping that one day someone would turn around and ask, "And how do you feel?" You poured your energy into others, imagining that eventually someone would do the same for you. But that moment never arrived. Over time, your nervous system learned something tragic. It began confusing loss with safety. It convinced you that love had to be earned, that affection was a prize you won only after proving your usefulness. To be seen, you first had to disappear. That's how unconscious patterns begin to form. And now, even as an adult, even as someone wiser, more aware, more awake, those old impulses still live inside you. You find yourself drawn to people who need you, rather than people who genuinely see you. Because being needed feels familiar. It feels like home, even when that home is burning you from the inside out. But here's the trap. If you keep giving from a place of emptiness, You'll continue attracting people who feed on that emptiness. You've probably felt it. You're the one who remembers the details no one else thinks about. You're the one who holds others together when they fall apart. You forgive the things that cut you. You soothe storms you didn't cause. You rise while they sink. And still, somehow, no one really notices you. They don't see your fears. They don't see your exhaustion. They don't see the quiet ache beneath your skin. They love your function, not your soul. Carl Jung had a word for that: persona, the social mask we put on to be accepted, to be approved of, to be tolerated. Everyone wears one, but some of us cling to it so desperately that it becomes the only version of us the world is allowed to see: the helper, the strong one, the responsible one, the version of yourself you believe others want, even if it means hiding the parts of you that are begging, quietly, painfully, to be seen. And here's the problem. The more you wear the mask, the more invisible you become, not only to others, but slowly, devastatingly, to yourself. People admire your kindness, but never notice when you're the one in need of warmth. They praise your calm presence, but no one asks about the storm you carry inside your chest. They celebrate your strength, but your silence, your fatigue, the heavy breathing between your thoughts, none of that is seen. And over time, that invisibility erodes you. You start to feel like a useful tool, but not a loved person. Valuable, but never truly valued. People remember you when they need something, but when you're the one who needs support, all you hear is silence. It's a deep loneliness, one that doesn't show up on your face or in your tone. From the outside, everything appears fine. You smile, you make jokes, you say, "I'm okay." But inside, a voice is screaming. Not to be admired, not to be depended on, but simply to be seen for who you are, not for what you do. And here's the most heartbreaking part. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They're so used to seeing you strong that it never occurs to them to ask if you're breaking inside. They're so accustomed to your steadiness that they forget you're also human, that you also get tired, that you also fall apart. It's not that they don't care, it's that your mask, the one Jung described, has done its job too well. You convinced the world that you were fine, but in the process, you hid yourself from yourself. You hid the parts of you that bleed. You learned to smile while something inside you was quietly dying. You adapted because adaptation kept you alive. You survived because survival was the only thing you were taught. But surviving is not the same as healing. And the version of you that learned to survive is not the version of you that will lead you into healing, into wholeness, into a life where you are loved not for your usefulness, but for your presence, your truth, your heart. Jung warned us that the more you cling to the persona, the mask you wear for the world, the further you drift from your authentic self. And that distance, that quiet fracture inside you, begins to feel like a kind of inner desert. It leaves you hollow, disconnected, almost foreign to your own soul. It fills you with a silent resentment you don't dare name, because on the surface, everything looks fine. It starts subtly. You say no once, almost by accident. You don't answer that message immediately. You choose not to drop your life to rescue someone who never asked how you were doing. For the first time, you protect your time, your energy, and the fragile peace you fought so hard to build. And then something unexpected happens. Silence. The people who used to reach out every day suddenly vanish. Those who insisted they needed you urgently fade, like smoke in the wind. There are no confrontations, no questions, no closure, just absence. and that absence stings in a way you didn't expect. You start wondering, what did I do wrong? You replay that small moment, the instant you said, I can't right now, searching desperately for the offense, assuming you must have broken some unspoken rule you didn't know existed. But there was no offense. You did nothing wrong. You didn't change. You simply stopped sacrificing yourself. And it's precisely there, in that stillness, that their mask finally cracks. Because some people were not in your life for you. They were there for your availability, for your emotional labor, for your warmth, for the way your light made their world brighter. Carl Jung understood this with incredible depth. He believed that the process of individuation, the long journey of returning to your true self, meant reclaiming all the energy you had unconsciously given away. It means no longer playing roles to be accepted, no longer stepping into someone else's story just to feel needed, no longer allowing your kindness to be a currency traded for conditional affection. And when you stop doing that, when you pull your soul back from the hands of those who fed on it, the illusion dissolves instantly. The transaction no longer benefits them. They can't manipulate you with suffering. They can't drain your energy. They can't tug at your empathy without offering anything in return. And that is when the truth appears with painful clarity. Their presence depended on your absence of self. They didn't stay because of love. They stayed because of what you gave them. Quietly, endlessly, asking for nothing. But the moment you grow, the moment you begin the process Jung called individuation, they pull away. Not because you became toxic, not because you changed for the worse, but because your boundaries reveal their intentions, and that realization hurts in a mature, almost reverent way. Your heart breaks, but not violently, more like a gentle cracking open that lets light in. You see the truth without anger, only with understanding, because real love never asks you to exhaust yourself. True connection doesn't dissolve the moment you finally honor your own needs. And yes, at first, it's lonely. You lose them. You lose the illusion. You lose the version of yourself who believed that keeping everyone happy was the price of belonging. But as those layers fall away, something new begins to rise inside you. Peace. A strange, unfamiliar peace that comes from knowing you're no longer betraying yourself. You no longer force a smile to maintain harmony. You no longer twist yourself to fit into spaces that valued your function but never valued you. You stop shrinking, bending, softening your edges just to be allowed in. This is what individuation truly is. Jung said that individuation is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole, reclaiming every part of you, every desire, every truth, every fragment you abandoned to survive is the path back to your essence. And yes, that path often requires solitude, because when you stop giving endlessly, you stop attracting those who only came to take. And in that stillness, in that silence that used to terrify you, you finally begin to hear yourself again. You reconnect with the voice beneath all the noise, the voice that whispers truths you forgot. You are not here to be dimmed. You are not here to be used. You are not here to be the emotional landfill for people who refuse to build themselves. You are here to live fully, freely, honestly. And the ones who disappear when you stop giving them everything, let them go. Because the ones who remain, the ones who meet you in your depth, the ones who love you when you no longer abandon yourself, those people do not only love your light, they love your boundaries. They love the truth of who you are when you finally return home to yourself. It all begins with a simple yes. You say yes when you're exhausted. You say yes when you feel hollow inside. You say yes even when every fiber in your body is pleading for just a moment of rest. Because saying no feels like a betrayal, not toward others, but toward the version of yourself you were trained to become. The calm one, the strong one, the person who is always available, always steady, always ready to carry what no one else dares to touch. But over time, that constant availability, that open door policy for anyone who needs something, slowly becomes a quiet erosion of who you are. You begin to fade beneath the weight of your own kindness. Carl Jung warned us about this trap. He believed that when we repress our real needs, our legitimate boundaries, our authentic desires, we fracture the soul. And that fracture has a name: repression. And what is repressed never stays silent forever. You repress your exhaustion so you can keep being the helper. You repress your sadness so you can remain likable. You repress your truth so you don't disappoint anyone. And without noticing it, you slowly become emotionally bankrupt. Every yes that betrays your inner truth becomes a withdrawal from your emotional account. Every forced smile, every conversation you endure out of obligation, every act of care performed from guilt instead of love, everything piles up until one day you wake up feeling nothing. No joy, no color, no sound, just emptiness. That is the price of being too available. You don't just lose energy, you lose identity. You lose the ability to hear your own voice, drowned beneath the noise of everyone else's expectations. You forget what you want because you've spent your entire life prioritizing what others want from you. You feel invisible, not because people don't see you, but because you no longer see yourself. Jung recognized this as one of the most dangerous ways a person abandons their own soul, becoming everything for everyone and nothing for yourself. He believed that when we repress who we truly are in order to belong, we construct a false self, a mask, a persona, a distorted version of you designed to survive. That mask says, "I'm fine, everything's okay, I just want to help." But behind it, there are tears, unexpressed anger, and a silent longing to be loved without conditions. Because here is the truth: being there for everyone doesn't make you kind, it makes you useful. And there is a difference. People begin to expect your sacrifices. They stop appreciating them. They stop noticing your efforts. You become a resource, not a human being. And the more you give without limits, the more they forget you even have limits. So you stretch yourself thin. You burn out. You give from an empty cup until nothing remains. No emotion, no clarity, no will. You end up functioning like an emotional machine for others, and no one notices because you learned to hide the cost of your own pain. But here is the truth Jung wanted you to hear. You are not here to be available to everyone. You are not here to fix everything, to heal everyone, to absorb the emotional chaos of the world. You are here to live fully, and that requires one essential act: honoring your boundaries. And yes, that means disappointing people. It means being misunderstood. It means saying no even when your voice trembles. Because every no that honors your soul is a yes to your healing. Repression may feel like safety, but it is really a slow erasure of your true self. And the only way to reclaim who you are is to stop confusing your worth with how useful you are to others. You are not worthy because you're always accessible. You are worthy because you exist. And when you finally step back, when you stop being permanently available, you discover something miraculous. Your real self, not selfish, not cold, not distant. The real you is free. And there comes a moment, after the exhaustion, after the emptiness, after the burnout, when something inside you breaks open. Not violently, not with rage, but quietly, with a kind of revolutionary calm. It is the moment you say, no more. No more being the emotional landfill for others. No more dimming my light to make others comfortable. No more confusing kindness with the annihilation of my own being. And Jung taught that this moment, this silent rebellion, is the true beginning of individuation, the first step toward becoming who you really are. So if this message pierced something inside you, if for a moment you felt seen, even from the shadows, you are not alone. Here, we understand what others overlook. Here, your darkness also has a home. Subscribe and turn on the notifications, because every day we will descend a little deeper into the hidden corridors of the human mind. And when the next video arrives, you won't want someone to tell you about it. You'll want to feel it.